Yo, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Movie Newbie. I'm your host, Jibril Sahimi, and as usual, I am joined by my two time-traveling space astronauts.
One of which is coughing blood.
One of which is coughing. Yeah, I think there's a leak. There's a leak in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways,
he's Frank Poole, and Hal is Jabril, and I'm Dave.
You're Dave.
Oi,
yeah.
Dave!
Oi, I'm just this guy called Dave. All right, anyways, stealing your thunder there, Jabril.
Yeah, but yeah, this is Raph and Ollie as usual. They're on this show.
Hello.
You guys,
Yes, we still got the job, Ollie.
you guys know what you guys.
We live
do.
to fight another day.
But today we're doing the first film in my theme, the AI Sci-Fi. I like AI
Sci-Fi.
Let's go. But yeah, and for the first film, we're doing 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. And what a film this is. This is something that I've watched recently, and then I had to watch again for this podcast. But yeah, just initial thoughts. It's incredible. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
It's yeah,
you
yeah.
were speechless.
Word.
No.
No.
Heard.
It's like, I don't know if I can say this is the best film ever.
Yes,
Wow.
you're very allowed to say that.
I don't know if I can. Like, no, just because like there are a few films that I think that can compete with this, but as a film, that's something that's come out in 1968 that was crafted in the way that it was. Just a little bit of backdrop. This film, like, changed the game, especially with sci-fi. A little synopsis of the film. It's basically,
Yeah, give us the synopsis.
is it the synopsis? The plot?
You're like, fuck.
Well,
What is it about?
It basically starts off like in the dawn of man. There's a little bit that happens there. Then it goes
sure
on
is.
to this little bit where.
But I
Yeah.
get it. But I understand why
We're,
you're
we're
struggling.
doing maybe more like a two sentence premise or something.
Yeah. Okay. So
Even that's quite hard,
basically,
though.
There's an artifact, and people are going. There's spaceships and bones and okay, you know what? What are your initial thoughts? Because it's hard to even
It's
explain
hard to
in
describe
like
this
one
film.
sentence. Yeah.
I mean, if you were to tell me, like, what is this
Yeah.
film
Let me-
about?
okay, this is what it says on IMDb. Okay.
There we go.
After uncovering a mysterious artifact buried beneath the lunar surface, a spacecraft is sent to Jupiter to find its origins. A spacecraft manned by two men and the supercomputer HAL 9000.
So
I mean-
even the synopsis is just long, and
Yeah, there's-
so much to unravel.
And then and that's it doesn't even start at the beginning there. Like there's so
No,
much.
No,
It
I know.
doesn't.
We don't even get to Frank and Dave and Hal until like halfway
An hour-
through the film.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
even an hour in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's an
Yeah.
hour and a half, 2.5 hour long film.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah. But anyways, keeping that in mind, what are your guys' first impressions?
Oh man, this is my third watch of this film, and I remember, being flabbergasted like most of the entire world was when they first watched this film. Even when it first came out, people stormed out, people were awed, people took acid, like it was one of those films that captured everyone's attention, whether they liked it or they didn't understand because they wanted. I think this is a movie that asks more questions than it answers. And straight from the get-go, you are thrown into something that's unlike anything you'll ever watch ever. And my initial thoughts, I am still completely in awe of this film. I think it's one of the best-looking sci-fi films to date, and
100%.
I will always stand my ground when I say that shit. Like, Interstellar can come close. Ad Astra can come close. Like, these sci-fi films that have been released in the past 10, 20 years can come close, but nothing comes close to something that was made in 1908.
Mm-hmm.
When you are thrown after the sequence of the dawn of man into space, oh my God, does it look
Yeah.
pristine and beautiful?
Like even that cut.
even
just
that
the
cut.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but also this is one of the greatest classical soundtracks you'll ever hear in a freaking
Absolutely.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there are so many things to talk about, but my initial reaction is still quite simply in awe.
Yeah. So I'll just wind it up a little bit before I give you my thoughts, but I actually kind of resented Jabril a little bit for picking this film. Like, I was actually a bit annoyed with you because, not to sound like I'm waxing too poetic, but this film has the experience of watching this film has a pretty special place in my heart. I've only seen it like I think 3 or 4 times before. First time was in university, very, very, I think typical to watch this when you get to college. And I won't say I was watching on the best screen possible necessarily, but I think it was in a time in my life in which I was really trying to soak up film culture, and I was really expanding my horizons. And I think it was like at 2:00 in the morning we started watching this film. So that has a very special place in my heart because it completely floored me then. And then each time I've seen it since has been on a big screen. Kind of like you, Jabril, actually. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times at repertory theaters. I saw it once in 35mm. And in that case, I was always like completely immersed in the experience. And it was like seeing it on the best screen possible with the best sound possible. And then this time, when I had to rewatch it for the podcast, I was really busy this week, so I didn't have a lot of free time. So for one reason or another, I had to watch it at like 2 in the afternoon on like a weekday, basically. And and the sun was streaming outside, and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be able to live up to my previous experiences. I had to find some way to make it special because it was in the middle of the workday, I couldn't necessarily, alter my mood, shall we say, to get into the headspace. So what I did was I just drew the blinds like I was like in a crack den or something. I drew the blinds in my living room. I plugged in my noise-canceling headphones to my television, and I made a big pot of tea because I had work to do after that. And I just tried to immerse myself as much as possible in that moment. And it was great. It was really great. Yeah. But bringing it back to the film itself, I think Raf said, it's really hard to describe. If you try to, you just end up with these single-word answers that I think sound a bit trite and pretentious. Like, it's an experience, or it's a trip, or it's
which it is
an odyssey. Yes, but
these are.
But I'll come up with another one. I think it's an opera. I think the classical music is a really big hint towards that. I see this film as an opera that just happens to use the most mind-bending visuals anyone had seen up to that point, I think, and still is really hit so hard. I think it's fascinating. I love the film. I love it. It made me sad that Stanley Kubrick stopped making films outside of the UK, because that first opening sequence when we're at the dawn of man, it's just you haven't even got to the sci-fi stuff yet, and that is just it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking.
Namibia, beautiful place.
Oh, was that where it was shot? I always thought it was Jordan for some. I thought it was like Wadi Rum or something, because they usually shoot a lot of like sci-fi films there. But anyway, I'm waffling. Yeah, still hits. Love this film.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jabril, please, as the movie newbie, what was your experience like? I'm fascinated to hear about that.
Yeah, it's so hard to take in.
You're probably the biggest sci-fi fan out of all three of us here, I would say.
So I felt like it was like something that I had to watch just to like get into
cover the ground.
Yeah, just to understand what the landscape of sci-fi is, I've been trying to like widen that recently because, as a teenager, you're like, oh, there's just Star Wars and Star Trek, or, there's not much that goes beyond that. But now I've been trying to go through it, and this was incredible. Like, there were certain scenes where like we were talking about this before even starting this podcast, and I remember asking the guys, I was like, which version of this film did you see? I was like, did you watch a remastered version? Because I was like, I think the version that I watched had like CGI put into it. And Raph was like, no, dude, this is how good the film is. And like one of the scenes that like just stood out to me, because like we are gonna talk about our favorite scenes, and there are so many scenes to talk about, and this could have been one of them. But there was a scene where they're first inside the Pan Am space shuttle. Yeah. The Pan American space shuttle, and like the stewardess comes in and she's like stumbling
with her shoe grips.
With her shoe
The grip
grips, yeah,
shoes,
grip
yeah.
shoes, yeah.
Amazing.
And she's stumbling, and just like the way she moves, it looks like she's in space, you know. And she picks up this pen that's floating in the air, and the way this pen is floating, it looks CGI, like.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where the focus of the lens, like it from the pen to the stewardess, and I was like, no way they did this. Like, I'm like, where's the string? Like, does it turn in the air? 360?
Yeah.
Like,
I believe it was made of glass, right?
I didn't know about that, but like throughout this film, you're especially in the space station, you're wondering how did they shoot that? Like when you're first introduced to Frank or Dave, sorry, and he's jogging.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm sure like they just built a
Yeah.
revolving set, but I'm still watching it today, and I'm like,
still tripping.
that's
yeah.
Or the
How?
stewardess
The
again
stewardess,
that
yeah,
walks into
Yeah.
the next room
Yeah.
as she like goes 360 around.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like a.
Is
honest-
the
first-
camera pivoting as
The
she's
first
walking?
thing I thought of was that Jamiroquai music video where he's like all over
Hey,
the place.
Jamiroquai probably is heavily inspired.
Yeah,
but-
what is that?
100%.
Virtual Insanity?
Virtual Insanity.
That's
yeah.
it,
Yeah. Great music video.
Yeah,
Anybody, if you like music videos,
Oh.
watch that.
Jamiroquai. Great stuff. Anyways, but like, this movie is. I mean, our podcast is not long enough for us to dive into
Yeah.
everything.
This should be like a 10 episode.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this is like a
Just covering this
multi-layered episode for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just I was very happy to see that you were blown away by the visuals, and you even thought yourself that
and that you didn't find it slow or overly long or overly slow,
No,
because
no.
I know sometimes I think your opinion is misrepresented because people think that you don't like slow or long movies. And
Yeah.
I think that's not true because I know that you like a lot of films that are long. It's just they have
pacing. It's the
they
pacing
have
of
to
a
be able to bring you
yeah,
in properly.
it's pacing for me. Yeah.
And and I know there are a lot of people out there who find this film to be tedious or slow, but
yeah.
but I
I guess like before we move to our favorite scene, what I think stood out to me about this movie is the lack of I guess it's probably even the message of what Stanley Kubrick was trying to achieve. It's like the lack of human interaction. I don't know if that's the correct word or like or
even dialogue.
like
man.
yeah, you know, so like the written dialogue, for example, is so boring, and like that wasn't what I was enjoying. Like, but the visuals on like, you know, like the bloop 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 bloop, like them like doing all the technical
Sure,
stuff.
yeah,
and it's very similar to what we have today in a different way. You know, like it's very forward thinking. You know, like how Dr. What's his name?
Frank
Dr. Hayward. Hayward, William Sylvester's character.
Sure,
Yes.
Yeah, where he's talking to his daughter.
the director
on, like, a
is the
video
director
call.
of the
who
National-
that's Stanley Kubrick's daughter. as
Yeah.
well. Fun
Oh,
fact.
is it? Okay. Well,
But
yeah,
that's
like
a video
that
call. Yeah, that's
It's a video call.
yeah,
and
it's
like-
FaceTime.
but it was such an awkward call. You know, like all the human interactions were super awkward in this film. But like the attention to detail and like the technology behind the film,
yeah.
it was it
Crazy.
was just so.
Crazy.
That's what I guess kept me in.
Sure.
So like maybe, you know, like the docking sequences and stuff and the
Yeah.
music. People might find that boring, but like me listening to the music, which I love,
Yeah.
and seeing this amazingly executed like docking sequence, which was probably really, really hard to achieve.
I assume a lot of it was shot with miniatures.
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
Miniatures. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
it's-
I love
it's
the
Maquettes,
original.
miniatures.
I love
Absolutely.
the original Star Wars, which was done in a similar
Yeah,
way.
absolutely.
But even-
So like seeing this, I'm like, holy shit!
And that was
this-
10 years earlier.
Yeah, it's 10
I
years
know.
earlier, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Crazy.
yeah, I guess let's move to our favorite scenes. Who wants to go
Oh.
first?
I mean, God, there's
Um,
just so many, man.
I can go first.
Yeah, please,
Yeah, go for
please,
it.
please.
I'm gonna go with the after, like this is I guess after the trippy
Yes,
uh,
trippy segments,
time,
let's say.
like the time travel Stargate into the
Yeah.
Oh, when he breaks
into the
when he gets to
monolith.
Jupiter. Yeah.
yeah, so like at the end where he goes through this like trippy like thing.
basically in a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he basically comes into this like I don't know what is it. It's like this futuristic like kind of like the Matrix red pill blue pill kinda, like, room.
In this
Like
other
the neoclassical architecture.
Yeah,
yeah.
with the weird like I don't know, is like Baroque.
Yeah,
It's
kinda
neoclassical style.
Yeah,
neoclassical
yeah.
You have, like,
style
yeah.
furniture. And what I really loved is the way that like you see, I think it was Dave, right? Yeah,
Dave. Yeah,
Dave, right? You see him, and then the cut goes to his point of view, looking at something else, and then the cut basically follows the character's point of view throughout the scene, and the way the scene kind of carries on, like even down to the way it's cut, is like really interesting. It like moves time forward as he goes forward or he gets older.
Yeah,
And
right.
It then turns into like from the point of view of like the monolith, and it was just like such a
Trippy scene.
Trippy
Yeah.
scene, but crafted in such a way where
Mm.
not only was the content and the subject matter, or even just like what was going on in the scene, but even the way that it was cut and like directed and performed. It was just such a. I mean, this is like one of many scenes. I could pick any scene in this film and be like, this is my
you
favorite
picked a
scene.
good one. You picked a surprising one for
But
me.
yeah, this one it was just really, really. It made me want to question the film. I guess that's
That's
probably
what
the scene
Kubrick
that
probably
does-
wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can see its influence in sci-fi in the future. Like I said, the red pill, blue pill scene in The Matrix, and you have so many scenes like I can't even remember like these purgatory scenes. You know?
Yeah.
Annihilation probably has one.
Yeah, I mean, The Matrix has loads of them.
Yeah.
No,
they are.
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
at
train
the end,
station.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fucking Voldemort baby
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Literally.
Yeah.
You made him happy.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just knew he'd like
Thanks,
that.
guys.
Avengers Infinity War? Where Thanos is looking at his daughter and
Yeah.
There's
Guys,
all-
can we not bring Avengers into this,
Yeah,
please?
yeah.
This is a happy space.
But
a non-Marvel space.
all that to say for you, Jabril, that like really asked a lot of questions. Instead of, usually classic endings answer a lot of the stuff that has been happening, right? Because you're like, okay, there's a lot of these big questions that I need answers, and it goes right to the end, and you're thinking, okay, conclusion,
Yeah.
wrap it up. Let's get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, so I was reading about this about Space Odyssey, and I was reading an article by a guy who used to work on the production team for Star Trek, like the ones that were in the 80s and the 90s. And the episodes that he was on, he always tried to like take inspiration from the Space Odyssey. So one of the things that he was saying was the lack of dialogue, or the appreciation of silence in the film.
Absolutely.
Like the pauses and whatnot. And I actually looked at the episodes of like Star Trek that he worked on, and those were all my favorite ones. And now that I think of it, they were all like these weird, trippy, like things where there wasn't really an answer to what they were. Because like, especially with Star Trek, it was always like, this is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Like this is the journey, the hero's journey kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
I can keep talking.
No,
about
but
this, yeah.
like you said, this movie really plays on the meditative silence of the narrative. And dude, I think if I'm not getting this wrong, 30 minutes into the film there's no dialogue, and then I think 30 minutes at the end of the film there's no dialogue. So there's really essentially only like maybe 40 minutes
And I
of
think-
dialogue
Yeah.
overall.
And I think also the film starts, I think, for like a minute and a half.
Just
complete
silence. Which
yeah.
is where I get the opera comparison from, because it's kind of like that.
What
Do you ever go to the opera or concerto?
Yeah, it's got a name, right? It's like not a
Like a
prologue or an
prelude
epilogue,
or
but a
something.
prelude.
Yeah, or
prelude.
just when the musicians are kind of like syncing up, or like
Yeah.
testing out their instruments almost. I know it's a different kind of style of that music at the beginning, but there's even that I forget that that's always how the movie starts. And so I was watching it on Amazon Prime, and I've seen this film like 4 or 5 times, but I was like, oh shit, do you think the screen's not like the visuals aren't showing?
For
Like,
me, I
TV's
was like checking
lagging
the
or something?
HDMI cable. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh, is the HDMI fucked?
But it's such
I
a
always-
ballsy move to do
Yeah.
that.
It's an
Yeah.
overture. I always
Overture,
I
sorry,
always
that's it,
forget
yes.
the name. I always forget the
Yeah.
name.
That's
But overture.
exactly.
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
and then also, just for a film, like I've spoken about this in previous episodes, but like no opening credits. especially
Yep.
for something in
Yeah.
1968
Yeah.
as well. It just starts.
Yeah, an overture for 1960s films was quite common.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah, like Ben-Hur had one.
Oh yes, Dutch Zhivago.
Dutch
probably.
Zhivago had one. It was very like a lot of David Lean films probably
like,
had an
over a black screen.
not over
though?
a black screen.
Yeah,
not
like-
over a black screen. There would usually be a picture or something there illustrating.
Yeah. No.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Ollie.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is. I mean, like what you.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you noticed on the lack of communication between in the film, lack of dialogue, and the film was purely a visual narrative,
Yeah.
which tells so much.
So I, as usual, I've got like several options, but I'm just gonna go
same.
with one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the scene where the astronauts visit the obelisk.
Yeah, bastard.
Oh, did I take it?
I was gonna. But I knew it. But I knew it. I was like,
that was
I
actually
feel,
my last choice, but just that's
With-
the one that sticks with me.
with Georgie's score, right?
Oh,
Like,
it's incredible! Like, which has been like done to death these days, but it still works so well. But I love how they contrast the civility of space civilization with the sort of descent that happens when they approach the obelisk, and that radio intermission happens. Because that's why you guys sort of mentioned how like boring the dialogue is, and beforehand, and I get that, but I also love how what an almost positive future vision, of like a future where we've managed to get ahead in space,
Conquer space, yeah,
colonize space to a
Yeah.
degree. Because I love just like the scenes of them, like just chatting in the space station with the Russians, but then also when they're just on their way to the obelisk and they're just having coffee in that little
Yeah.
transport vehicle and just
Yeah.
sort of like having a bit of a chin wag, and it's so
Oh,
casual.
is that when they're having like sandwiches?
Sandwiches and
Yeah,
coffee,
yeah.
and then
It's
they
like,
get
"Oh,
there,
chicken?"
and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, exactly, and it's so like
that scene is.
polite and mannered,
Yeah.
but then you get to the I guess the archival, no, what's the like archaeological sites,
The archaeological site,
basically,
yeah.
and that shot of the astronauts descending into that hole. You've seen that mimicked so many films, and then I love how it switches from wide still photography to handheld.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like
yeah.
Stanley Kubrick very rarely uses handheld cinematography, but I love how that just sort of signifies that there's a gear shift, and it makes you feel like you're apprehending that thing yourself, like you're one of the astronauts, and then that radio intermission comes out, and then you have that hard cut to 18 months later.
Yeah.
Just really powerful. So
I mean,
that's
like
my pick.
I saw loads of Wes Anderson in this film. Like the
symmetry in this
symmetry
film.
In this film, Wes Anderson must have been like jacking
Splendiferous
off.
case
Yeah.
of the obelisk in the lunar site.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a good what if. What if Wes Anderson did this film?
Yeah.
Well,
He should do a
he
space
should do
movie.
a space
he should
movie.
do a
Yeah, he
space
should do
movie.
a sci-fi space
Yeah.
movie. I guess technically the last thing he did was
Oh,
sci-fi-ish,
shit, Asteroid
right?
City.
Asteroid City.
Absolutely. That had a lot of sci-fi
Ish, yeah.
influences
Yeah.
that I think worked really well.
100%.
It was like Courage the Cowardly Dog for adults.
Or what's the alien show?
Invader Zim.
Invader Zim.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
dude. Oh, I haven't even thought of that show. Oh shit. Anyways,
yeah, it's, again, 2001 just influencing a whole culture, whole pop culture of for generations and generations, including I've heard, because I was listening to this other podcast called 70 Millimeter. They say how The Simpsons.
Yeah, the
These-
Simpsons were. I think this is the film that they've most paid homage to.
Yeah.
And also, funnily enough, Stanley Kubrick was apparently a really big Simpsons fan.
Oh, well, there we go.
Despite being this really lofty filmmaker, he had these really like populist tastes in pop culture. Like his favorite film apparently is White Men Can't Jump.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
Woody
I
Harrelson and
digress.
Wesley Snipes.
Before you say your favorite scene,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the big homage in Barbie.
I mean, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. The beginning was the first
Yeah.
sequence. Yeah.
I
Dawn of
watched Barbie before I watched Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
and then I didn't realize that the da, da,
Yeah,
I didn't know that's from
Strauss.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Until now, yeah.
yeah.
And it's funny that it was referred to as the sequence of the dawn of man, and obviously with Barbie, it's Barbie. It's about a female. It's about a woman.
Yeah.
It's the dawn of kind of female toys.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. I mean, huge homage.
Mhm.
Huge homage. This was hard. This was hard because that scene was definitely in there. I think that's one of the most unnerving classical scores I've ever heard in a movie, and just outside of the movie. It's a very, very uncomfortable.
And like you wouldn't get "There Will Be Blood" and the Johnny Greenwood score for that film without that scene.
Absolutely. Or you wouldn't get. I mean, this is from a different movie, Godzilla. Godzilla 2014, one of my favorite monster movies of the 21st century. When they come down to meet Godzilla in the first place.
What's it called when you jump out of
those paragliders, not paragliders, but paratroopers or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, lots of references. Everyone loves this film. At least every film enthusiast or every filmmaker definitely looks at 2001: Space Odyssey.
I mean, it's Christopher Nolan's favorite film, I think.
There you go. Yeah, and Interstellar is probably heavily inspired by this film. So, what will I go for? So, I'm going to do an ollie. I'm going to do an honorable mention. And I'm going to do one where it's Dave and Frank Poole are in the pod, and they're talking amongst each other, and it's just this beautiful shot where you see HAL 9000 just watching them.
Yeah, that's the Wes Anderson shot.
That's classic Wes Anderson, but like that shot also quite uncomfortable and terrifying because they think they're just speaking in secrecy and they're discussing the idea of terminating HAL, and HAL is right there just watching them. That's
another great scene. I'd actually also picked what happens right before that, where they're having that conversation with HAL about the antenna, about the control tower.
My God, yeah.
And you can tell both of them are just like thinking, this doesn't seem right, but they can't say anything because if they say anything within earshot of HAL, which is pretty much the entire space station, then they know that they could be in real trouble, basically.
HAL, that sloppy,
that's filled with such terror.
That terrifying villainous bastard. He knows that we need to see this through, so he will do whatever means
Well, we need to get onto that later, because I do want to know what your
we shall. So my favorite scene is when Dave removes HAL's memory, because and I've considered it quite a lot. My third watch, and I still think that this scene haunts me the most. I think this movie, for me, it's a haunting. It's a horror film. I am always haunted by it. I'm actually kind of scared by it. There's a lot of like imagery that's terrifying, and this one has the best of all, and it really captures especially his performance, the one who voices
Douglas
Al.
Rain.
Thank you very much, because it just descends into pure horror as his memory gets removed, and he just goes, Dave, would you like me to sing your song? And then he sings that song, and you're just like, it's so uncomfortable, so unearthing, so it just gets into your skin and doesn't want to let go. And it's also
Dave, I'm scared.
Dave, I'm afraid. Yeah. And like how slow each memory goes, and how like meticulous and well crafted that scene is, and it just highlights the voice acting. And it for me it says 2001: Space Odyssey is a fucking horror.
I like that. I think a lot of people would agree.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's my favorite scene.
Right.
Yeah.
So favorite performances.
Yeah.
So I'll maybe jump in first.
Yeah,
actually.
please.
I know I'm probably going to steal someone's answer.
Yeah, you don't be a chibai.
There are lots.
I mean, we could potentially have all the same answers.
I know, because this is not necessarily a film of characters or a film of performances.
I went for a rogue choice because I felt like
I have a bit of a rogue choice too, but you know,
I don't.
Oh well, who are you thinking then? Were you going to say
jumping from
Pierre
my
Julia or no? Or were you going to say Hal?
Douglas Rain? Yeah. Hal,
okay.
Definitely.
That is a bit of a different choice, though.
Yeah,
in the sense that it's a voiceover.
Sure.
Voice
yeah. Actually, I think it's.
But it's a great. It's not like what people think AI voices will sound like.
Sure. Yeah.
And at least for us in this time.
Well, something I observed this time, I was like, this is meant to be AI as this cold, unfeeling, purely logical entity. But I found that the voice performance makes it more warmer and human.
Friendly.
A lot of the human characters are actually sound quite robotic and stilted.
Yeah.
And I think that might be. I think that's a choice.
Oh, for sure. If there's anything that is considered or would have been considered, Kubrick has considered it. The man does like 200 takes. He is a perfectionist, and this is why we get most of his films as masterpieces, because the man not only is he just a huge film nerd, but the man is a perfectionist. He makes art, dude. Like, this is not just any sci-fi. It's straight up fucking art.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hal for me is definitely something that, like, it's one of the most iconic voices you'll ever have, you'll ever hear. And for that to be delivered by an unknown actor at the time, Stanley Kubrick was offering the roles to, like, big A-listers in the 60s. He was like, he had other considerations until I think he was given this by, it must have been someone in his social circle that thought, why don't you try out this guy? And he wanted something affable and something likable, and this guy delivered. Douglas just, like, made the most iconic character out of a voice.
I think you should have gone with Christian Bale.
Yeah.
No! No! Dave! No!
Making me really uncomfortable. Or Samuel L. Jackson.
It'd be Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Chris Rock. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Favorite performance. I'm gonna give a shout out to Keir Dullea, who plays Dave. I think some people might accuse his performance, along with most of the other actors in the film who are playing human beings, as being maybe a bit cold, a bit remote.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, it made so much sense because he's meant to be this peak astronaut, right?
Yeah.
And what astronauts have to go through in terms of psychological training, they're typically very reserved. Like, there was that film about Neil Armstrong, First Man, which I love. I think is a really underrated film, and Ryan Gosling is super just withdrawn in that film, and that's because that's what Neil Armstrong was like.
I think that's how you have to be as
Exactly,
an astronaut.
but his performance, bringing it back to Keir Dullea, who plays Dave, I feel like he has these micro expressions when he realizes what Hal is doing that betrays just how probably frightened but upset he is.
And you have to think at that point, people didn't know anything about space. Yeah,
space travel was was a very new thing.
Yeah,
I mean, they just put a man in space like 6 years prior or something
so,
like that.
They really wouldn't know, like, even to the point where they wouldn't know how, like, the light would hit, like, a person's face through glass, like, to, like, mimic that visually and shit like that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much knowledge we had in the 60s, but we definitely don't have the knowledge we do now. So anything beyond, Jupiter, I was like, okay, it's literally.
Well, supposedly. Well, I think Stanley Kubrick knew a lot because he actually worked with NASA when making this film.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Well, there's a route. Have you heard?
Is a Christopher Nolan of
the conspiratory theory about Kubrick and the moon landing?
He filmed the
fake moon landing so he could get the cameras he needs to film. He wanted to learn how to film space travel properly. So in exchange for being involved in this conspiracy, he got classified information from NASA.
There's there's a little bit of conspiracy for you. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But yeah, favorite performance, Jabril.
Did you give two?
Yeah, no, I said Keir Dullea, but I was also going to say, the entire cast of actors who played the apes at the beginning.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic.
Let me get it out. Hold on. I have it. I had it.
Oh, here we go. It's a really long name.
So the Australopithecine.
The
Australopithecine.
So whatever preceded the Anthropocenic period, which is when human beings came into being.
So they were the subtribe in the tribe Homini. The members of the subtribe. I'm going to skip all this. They are the extinct close relatives of modern humans.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, they did a really good job.
Fantastic.
They didn't switch between real, like, apes.
No.
Those
were all.
There was all people in suits.
Because Lorna was like, no, there are bits where they switch. And I was like,
they don't exist anymore.
That jaguar jumping on that ape is just a human taking on an actual jaguar.
Yeah. That was an actual jaguar.
Yeah. Do you think you would have had like Andy Serkis doing his thing without this movie?
No. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fuck.
So that's dedication to, like, I would call it ape acting, which we've had a lot recently with the War of the Planet, with the Planet of the Apes trilogy, and obviously with the suits of the.
I do a pretty good ape.
I I rock at the ape
Dude, I
acting.
rock at
Yeah,
the
we
ape.
can do it together, bro.
Yeah.
Come
Ape
on.
off.
Ape off. But it's I think we have to talk about that sequence a little bit because I want to
Yeah.
get your feelings on how you felt about this being the opening of a sci-fi film, and you're literally on Earth and you're looking at essentially monkeys or apes.
I think it's pretty genius, actually. I don't
Yeah,
just love
I mean,
love that opening.
That's the part. This is the part of the film where I remember when I watched it and it started. I was like, oh fuck, like holy shit! Like we're starting at the beginning.
We're starting.
All right.
Right. Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. All right. No, it was so surreal because it's just nothing was said, you know. So it's like it's
You're just-
purely visual, and you're purely experiencing it.
and physical. Like you're
Yeah,
watching
it's
literally
very
the
physical, yeah.
physicality of
Yeah, and even just like the what would it be, makeup? Would you call that makeup?
Yeah.
Or would that
Prosthetics,
be-
The
you know?
the suits.
yeah,
The
I
suits,
suppose.
yeah,
Would that be
they were monkey
costume?
suits.
Would that be costume or makeup?
That'd
I
be
think
both.
it's called
Yeah, it'd be
both. I
both.
suppose.
Yeah,
But I mean, just like the way, like when they
The mouth
open their
move,
mouths, yeah, or like just how their eyes looked so it like, you know how like sometimes when you see people dressed up as like animals or whatever, you look at their eyes and it just looks strange because like
Yeah.
wear the mask or whatever, but this looked so real.
And
It
also,
looked so
like,
good.
People would assume that, they're apes, they move so weird, but they weren't. Like I said, they're Australopithecine, so they're like, again, they're
Very
sub-tribe
close relatives.
Yeah, so it's like they would kind of generally have common movements of what a man or what a human would be like all those thousands of years ago. And I think
Yeah.
when the monoliths comes and suddenly one of them starts touching it and start touching it more, and then
Yeah.
you get more of that feeling, or the
Yeah.
fact that they harness the tool, and that's the tool that basically advances them, and that
Yeah.
basically
well,
makes them create
well,
Dave and
well,
Hal in the first place.
let's leave that for the
Okay,
end.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So favorite performance,
favorite
Jabril.
My
performance,
favorite
Jabril.
performance. So because of my love for old school movies and like Hitchcock and stuff like that.
Yeah. French New Wave.
I really liked William Sylvester, who was Dr. Hayward Floyd.
He was great.
reminded me a lot of what's his name in Rope. What's his name?
Yes. That's weird.
Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Just reminded me of like this, cool, suave.
Well, like Cary Grant a little bit. He looked very suave. He had
Just
like
very
a turtleneck.
suave, the way he carried himself, and like even when they were asking about like, oh, so what's this pandemic or whatever, and he's like,
yeah, and
I don't know
that was
about
so
it,
cold. The way he was
Yeah,
just like,
he was just
well,
like-
I'm really not at liberty to say.
yeah. I just like love the way, it was just such a suave like.
And that scene, I was like, yeah, fuck you,
Yeah.
Russians.
Well, the weird thing that I wrote.
cut
Is
that
it
out.
an ode? Is it an ode or a little hint to Solaris? Because because Tchaikovsky was kind of
Yeah.
Kubrick's counterpart
Oh, absolutely.
in Russia. So it's
Yeah.
like, and he Solaris was made in
early 70s. I
Yeah,
think.
early
so a few
70s.
years later.
So I guess then it wouldn't be an ode, but they
They
always
married each other.
they married
Well, the
each other.
space race
like-
was very much in play
Yeah,
at that
space
point.
race.
Yeah.
It was unavoidable.
Yeah. But yeah, this is what I wrote here. He was just so cool. Like it was the perfect.
Storm.
It was like the perfect version of someone of like the '60s brought into the future. He had like such a nostalgic like way of carrying himself. It was like
Yeah.
the performance was so good and believable. It was like you could almost smell the era that he was from.
Yeah,
You know, like,
absolutely.
It was the future, but it still felt like
The 60s.
It's like he's like he walked off the set of like Mad Men or something.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, or like
Yeah.
but
Funny enough, did not smoke. Not
No, I guess
no
you
one
wouldn't want to
smokes in
smoke.
this.
You wouldn't want to smoke in space.
yeah,
It's
no,
cool.
one, yeah,
No.
well, I guess yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. I never noticed that.
Yeah, because it's the 60s. They might have been like,
No,
nah,
but
we
they're
can
like the
we can
future. We don't smoke in
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true. It's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because they could have so easily been
I
like,
feel like that might have been the part of the future. This is an advanced civilization.
yeah, guys.
so-
It's 2001, guys.
Come on, 2001.
There's no more smoking in planes.
Yeah,
And there's no more Pan Am.
yeah, and no more Christian names.
Yeah, no more Christian name.
But yeah, that was my favorite performance. I just wanted to
I love
go
that.
with some.
I
Yeah,
love
because
that.
it was also just a short part of the film as well. But
Yeah.
But I love
really,
the way
liked
they
it.
established that world so easily. 'Cause
Yeah,
what I love is this film takes its time. So that beginning when we're back on the space station after the dawn of man, I swear it's like 10 minutes of just establishing shots
yeah,
of just the crew kind of going about their
Yeah.
lives,
yeah,
and like you said, the docking scenes as well.
yeah.
And I think that just tells you everything you need to know without any dialogue really, and it eases you into it. I love that part.
Mm.
It's great. Fucking great film.
Yeah, it's a great film.
It's a great film.
All right,
Yeah.
shall
well,
we go to quote?
yeah,
Or-
favorite
Yeah.
quote, I guess.
Mhm.
Also, I'll mention that he passed away back in William Sylvester passed away in 1995.
Yeah,
But the two main characters, or I guess semi-main characters, Cara DeLua and Gary Lockwood, are still alive, and they were born in
nice.
1936. So
Oh, damn.
Damn.
they were old as fuck.
Ah,
I
bless.
wonder if they made cameos in any other
Yes,
sci-fi
so-
films.
For you,
Do you have a fun fact?
I do have a fun fact. So
Star Trek. It has to be.
Cara DeLua, who plays Dave, was also in recently a game that you have played. What is it? Sci-fi open world.
Oh, Starfield.
Starfield.
Yeah.
No way.
no way.
He played
way.
Keeper Aquilus.
Oh no way.
So, don't know who that is. but-
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
amazing.
cool.
There we go.
That's cool.
There we
Yeah,
go.
Yeah, yeah.
And has
Nice.
Frank. Oh, watch out! Another fun fact coming your way. Gary Lockwood also played in a
Dune.
huge thing that you love that you
Dune?
mentioned just prior.
Trek.
Yeah,
Ah, right.
as Lieutenant Commodore Gary.
Yeah, probably was an extra, like a little cameo.
Oh, that memorable character.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Commandeer Gary.
Gary.
Didn't even change his own first name. That's how little thought
But
they put
hey,
into it.
he was in Star Trek.
Nice.
Very
you know.
cool.
That's pretty
So
cool.
favorite quotes.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is not a film of words,
Yeah,
but
I like
I was
when they
at-
go.
oh my god, I felt like I was transported to Namibia myself just there. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the Howl line. Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye. So I used to listen to a podcast where they ended every episode of the podcast with that quote, with like that like soundbite,
right.
and it was just such a perfect way to end a podcast. But yeah, I love that.
That was my one. 'Cause
Oh,
that's
sorry
like
about that.
that was like such a perfect like fuck you as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was
It's like,
such a
I can't-
passive aggressive. Yeah.
It's like
conversation.
Yeah.
We should use that more often in regular
Yeah,
conversation.
just in
like,
regular
this
life. Yeah.
Conversation serves no purpose anymore.
Yeah, and
Goodbye.
just like walk away.
Yeah.
It sounds like the lady from what is it? Fuck, what's that show? The Weakest Link.
The Weakest
You are
Link.
the Weakest Link.
Goodbye. Yeah. Raph, what about you?
I mean, it's hard not to pick Hal because he's probably has the
Yeah.
most memorable, including one that I posted yesterday on my Instagram. If anyone saw,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Hal.
Lame.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I did not hit her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Hal. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
one of his famous lines. Honestly, I don't have anything
It's fine.
apart
This
from
is not a film
that.
of-
Yeah.
But okay, you know what you did give me one quote just prior from Dr. Floyd? Dr. Lloyd, sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Floyd,
Mhm.
who's played by William Sylvester,
Yeah.
who says, "I'm sorry, I'm just not at liberty to say."
Oh yeah.
I thought that was quite, and it's quite. Again, it sets up a lot of the unnerving premise that is at stake to where he has to go.
Yeah.
So it serves a lot. It's a weighted.
That makes me think of another line that you hear a couple of times in the space station where it says, "You going up or you going down?"
Yeah, you going
Which
up
is just
or you
like
going down.
such a
Yeah.
great way of just like conceptualizing this world. Like, you going up or you going
Yeah.
down?
Yeah.
That's how you travel in space. You
Yeah.
going up or you going down?
That's
Yeah.
true. And I also have to point out, you know that scene that you mentioned, that you both mentioned, when they are in Jupiter and they're going to the archaeological place to see the monolith for the
Mhm,
first
mhm.
time. Those astronauts.
Wait. They're going to the moon or they're going to Jupiter?
No. So when they're in Jupiter, they're going to see the monolith in the archaeological
Wait,
site.
but
No,
that's
they're
on the
going-
moon.
they're going to the moon.
Oh, that's on the moon. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
So
okay.
they're on the moon, not on Jupiter. I didn't get this film. And they're in this space shuttle or whatever.
Yeah.
This scene always makes me laugh. So I'm like, how like uncomfortable for this man. He gets served a sandwich, right? Straight up, he gets served a sandwich, and then they're like, he's still eating the sandwich. Like, so anyone want coffee? And then he gets served coffee, and then he gets served a map. He's like, and this is where we're going. And he's the actor's literally like,
yeah, he's like, careful, it's hot.
And then I was like, how?
and I'm like, this man has too many things.
Also,
What?
it's like, who wants coffee black coffee when they're having a sandwich?
Yeah, exactly. And he's
only
still
in America,
and he's like still
Yeah.
eating, and his like
Oh,
one
dude.
piece of plastic's on his knee, and then the sandwich is like located on his like quad,
Yeah, I
and the
was
map
thinking
is
of
like
it.
on the left side of his leg.
Yeah, I was like, how are they even filming this? And he was like, and he was like lifting.
Yeah, but he does it like so nonchalantly. He's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
he's
not.
Great if they randomly threw some humor into the middle of this film where he spills the hot
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
It's like, fuck!
Yeah, or he's one of them is dropping a sandwich. It's like shit,
Shit, I was eating
yeah,
that.
or
the-
like
the-
floats.
And then he
joke-
immediately goes like,
I think the joke in that scene.
He drops in his crunch and he goes, "Oh!"
the violence.
The score comes up. Oh, great stuff.
But the
great.
humor in that scene was like, is that chicken? Is like, well, it doesn't matter. They all taste
They
the
all
same.
same. So maybe it's like some vegan. Maybe it's like it's not chicken.
It's like
maybe
a protein,
like a
paste,
protein thing.
like what
yeah.
the astronauts are eating.
Well, yeah, 18 months later, the way they ate food was completely different.
Yeah.
Because like
I think that's just because they're on a really long. They're further away from Earth, so they
Yeah,
have to have
yeah,
like
maybe.
frozen food. I assume like
Conserved
preserved
food,
food
yeah.
or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Well, armchair moment. What ifs? I think we mentioned what if this was Wes
I do-
Anderson.
Yeah, and I
Um,
do have a what if. You know what? After am I the
Or an-
only
or
one
an
who's watched
armchair.
this 3 times?
I've watched this 4 times.
Oh, you watched it 4
It's my 4th time, I think.
I have an armchair.
I
Go,
have an
go.
armchair too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Me
for
3.
me, the biggest armchair, it's also nitpicking. Was when Dave is running and around in the thing, and he's like punching in the air.
Oh yeah, shadow
Those-
boxing.
The shadow boxing. It just looked
Weak.
so unbelievable. Yeah, it looked like he's never punched in his life, and it looked.
That's what you're
it looked
focusing
really,
on.
No, it looks really bad. Well,
Yeah.
because like
No, I
I was
get
like,
that.
you're supposed to be an astronaut that's like supposed to be well trained and shit, and you literally look like you're like Naruto running.
Yeah, no.
And there were weird instances throughout the film. Where
Well,
it
that's because
just
he was
like,
running in. That's because he probably was running in place.
Yeah.
Like on a treadmill, essentially, that was moving below him.
Oh, I thought it was a rotating set.
I think rotating set, but because obviously, I think what he was doing was running in place.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
camera's attached to the rotator.
But like,
so it looks
I mean,
like-
I've
Sorry.
run on a. Oh, you mean like running in place?
in
without a
place, like
treadmill?
like when you're on a treadmill or something.
Oh no, but you can on a treadmill. You can punch straight.
Sure,
You don't
but I
have
think
to
like when it's
punch
like a set,
to, like-
not a proper treadmill, it
Right.
might have make his running look a little
Okay,
bit
I
awkward.
get it. You're just defending the guy. Okay.
I forgot.
Yeah, Jabril's just like weak sauce.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
Yeah.
know. It just looked.
Your
it
moves
just,
are weak.
Your moves
no,
are
no,
weak.
with something that like so much attention to detail. This entire film, and like it was
Yeah,
fucking
sure.
directed by fucking nerds.
Yes,
Nerds who never punched and never took a
So our
punch.
take for this film is Stanley Kubrick was a fucking nerd. He didn't get any pussy in high school or anything. He was
Don't
all
say-
playing with his camera the whole time.
and fucking jerking off.
We're gonna add this section because can't say the p word.
What P word?
On live broadcast. No, we can't.
Yeah.
We can say.
I mean, it's not great language to use, but I was mimicking, a high school jock. So
yeah,
it's okay.
exactly. So you were in character.
Yeah.
Who am I to deny you of your performance? Yeah, armchair moment. No, I mean, I get it. I also, whenever I see it, I'm like, it looks weird, man. Like, don't do the punching. You don't need to punch the air.
Yeah. You're an astronaut.
You're an astronaut, not a
Yeah.
boxer.
And throughout the movie they don't even like hint at like extraterrestrial life. I don't know if that's maybe another question about the monolith, but
Right. Well, I guess the monolith was meant to be the first sign of
Yeah, the attraction of
the first
why
sign
they're-
of life
Yeah.
beyond human, but beyond Earth, basically.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because it's the first signal that they've received. But anyway,
Armchair moment. This one might deter Kubrick fans. So sorry, y'all. But I do think that this movie sometimes is very indulgent in its pacing. So I will give you an example of a scene, and it's the scene when Dave goes to try to rescue his friend. And it's like a 10-minute,
Oh, right.
like a 10-minute segment
Yeah.
of him going into the little space shuttle, going outside, and then the space shuttle moving slowly, his friend weirdly going into space. And I'm like, does this need to be this long? You know, like, what is it serving? What is the purpose? Obviously, there's Hal there. Dave is out, so Hal can do his thing inside. And I get that part of it, but there are just some bits, right? Especially when it comes to the segments between Hal and Dave or Dave and Frank Poole. There's just these long bits that I'm like, is that just Kubrick flexing? Or is that just like Kubrick trying to say, I want to make this movie longer? Because apparently out there's a 200-hour like unedited version of this film.
200 hours.
Or at least there's a movie that's 200 times longer. Sorry, let me. So
That's
it's
even longer. That's like
200
400
times
hours.
longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's 400 hours then.
200 times.
Hold on, I'm gonna whip out this. Unless I read it wrong on the train, which I could very well have.
Yeah.
Um,
It sounds like a 5-year-old wrote it.
Yeah, here we go. According
200 times bigger.
200 times bigger. My dad is 200 times stronger than your dad. No, here we go. According to Douglas Trumbull, the total footage shot was 200 times the final length of the film.
Oh yeah, but that's I mean,
standard.
that's a lot,
that is,
I suppose.
but that is
but that's
standard.
multiple takes.
like an
Yeah,
assembly cut is
okay,
usually like 10 plus
I
hours.
understand.
But
Okay.
anyway,
anyways, all that to say, there are definitely some scenes that felt, at least to
Yeah.
me, indulgent, long for the sake of, I don't know, being long. Like they didn't, for me, it was unnecessary. Not just because I've now rewatched this film multiple times to know that I can like maybe fine tune this film, but like say like, is this necessary?
Yeah, I get that. I think that's
Especially the segments when they're in space between Hal, Dave.
But I love
and
that
Frank
when
Poole.
he's is it that scene where you just hear like his breathing?
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick's breathing.
Really?
fact,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that. I love that.
That's
'cause
great. That is
that
great.
just
That
makes
is-
that more than anything, more than any of the visuals.
Yeah.
That sound design puts you in the position of I'm in space,
Yeah.
or like allows you to feel what they must feel because it's just you in that suit hearing your
Yeah.
own voice. Hearing your own breathing, being refracted back at you because there's no sound in space.
That's true.
Anyway, so very claustrophobic even when you're in this big wide expanse. But anyway,
Absolutely.
I guess my armchair moment, and it's really, I feel like it's bad to call it an armchair moment but I guess not what I would change, but what I wish we got more of was, I do think, as much as I love parts of it, I do think the ending weirdly feels rushed for such a long film. Like
Yeah.
people complain about how drawn out the whole film is and how tedious it can be overlong, but I feel like it's just sort of kicking off it to a degree when we get to Jupiter. I'm like, and I always forget how
It's about to go down.
right, and then for starters, it cuts out a big section of what happens between when he kills Hal and getting to Jupiter and going through this bloody time warp or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you get into the that home where he sees the older version of himself, and I feel like it just kind of brings everything to a close so quickly. It feels truncated.
Mm.
And so I weirdly almost wish there was another hour of this film where we could see what happened on Jupiter.
Is there a director's cut?
No, I don't think there is. I don't know if the script ever really delved that much further into it. But for me,
Unless
it
you
felt
watch
like
the
a bit
sequel.
rushed. I would love to see a sequel.
With John Lithgow and Helen Mirren.
Yeah, is the
2000
Arthur C. Clarke wrote.
unofficial sequel.
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke wrote a sequel to the book.
Yeah. There's like multiple sequels. To the
Isn't
book.
it
Yes.
called like 2010?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it goes up all the way to 3001.
Oh yeah,
the
that's
books.
true.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I
Um,
feel like the third act, I wish there was more to chew on,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
explanation even. Which I know some people like that it's ambiguous, or that we're not really spoon-fed any answers about what happened at the end. But I'd love to see more clues, I guess, on screen.
I have like a bonus armchair, which is not really an armchair moment, but I've never taken acid before, but I know that watching that Stargate sequence, going through space and time, whatever, for watching that for the first time, I felt like I was on acid.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what acid is. It was so beautiful, mesmerizing, haunting, terrifying, joyful, happy, sad, all of it. I was like, it's enough.
Yeah.
I was like overloaded. Anyways,
All right.
we're like going over time, but I think we're allowed with 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, also it's our
Yes,
first
yeah.
recording session back.
Yeah. So we got bonus question and then the rating. Okay, so
Fantastic.
bonus question is, well, it's kind of like a two-parter / like not really.
Damn.
Okay, so the first one is do you think the monolith was like aliens? What did you think it was? Like, how did you think it got there? And then the second one is, do you think it altered human life?
I don't know what the first answer. I don't know. I assume it's some form of extraterrestrial life. I don't believe,
because like in the
some
original,
people believe it's like God or something like
yeah,
that, or
so
it's
like
like
the
a,
original when he first started creating the film, he wanted it to have like a bit of like a alien reveal at the end, but then just decided against it and to just stick with just this like weird monolith, where to the point where it's like beyond the understanding of
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Because
human
it
brain.
would be, dude. If we fucking
Yeah.
saw an alien, I think again, William Sylvester,
Yeah.
Dr. Floyd said it best himself. There would be a cultural shock and social disorientation if we
Yeah.
ever got to witness something extraterrestrial.
Because like I think now if we were to have an alien attack, I swear to God, people would think it was God.
I mean, right
Quite
now
likely.
we're
Very
so
likely.
worshipping it.
yeah, but we're so like it's so like washed now. This whole alien thing, like there's been like an alien sighting every other 2 days in America or something like that.
Well, you
or
have
the fact that there's
the declassification of the, or like that whistleblower
in Mexico, like where they
Yeah.
saw like they
Oh, that
literally
was so funny. Yeah, when they brought this like little like
little alien
Gooey
dude,
thing, yeah.
little Paul, like Paul from the
yeah.
movie
Yeah.
Paul.
Oh my God.
Like I feel like the closest thing, honestly, as sci-fi wise, is 2001 and then Arrival, because Arrival does it
Yeah.
so well in the sense that
Very
we
good.
don't comprehend.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Oh yeah.
I
watched
mean-
that film once.
to your my answer to your questions will be first one, yeah, sure, why not alien.
done.
Second question, do I think it actually set off the chain of events that led to, I don't know, because obviously you see it there at the dawn of man, and then shortly afterwards he learns how to use the tools, which signifies the beginning of the Anthropocene
Yeah.
age. But I guess I don't completely see the correlation
said.
between the obelisk or the monolith being there and the ape learning how to use the bone.
Yeah.
So it's
I-
it's a nice theory, but
Mm.
it doesn't connect for me, I suppose. So I'd say no.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the ape or the Australopithecine
Yeah.
discovering the bone is just a way to tell us that he discovers the tool, which is what we discovered two things apparently when we evolved: tools, art, drawing on fucking walls. Right,
Yeah.
that was
you
the
have to remember, right? In the beginning sequence, right? They were at the drinking hole.
Yeah.
Then this other tribe drives them away.
Yeah.
And the person, the tribe that does discover the monolith are the ones that were driven away.
gotcha.
And then they
Ah.
discover the
The tool.
tool, and
Yeah.
they come back and attack that tribe at the watering hole.
Oh, is that what? Because it kind of the cutting there.
Yeah,
I never put that
Kinda
together. 'Cause you see all those
jarring,
bloody carabanas,
Capybara?
capybara.
the anteaters.
Oh,
yeah,
they're
let's call them.
anteaters.
They're not ant. Yeah, they've got. But
I
anyway,
think they're capybaras.
capybaras. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. Are we pronouncing it right?
Yeah, it's
Anyway, you see
capybara,
them
yeah.
getting murked like left and right.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure some straight up die.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Stanley
Yeah.
Kubrick just killed those.
Yeah. At least a couple for sure.
Yeah.
Animals were harmed during this film.
Yeah. That was another armchair.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hey, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So to answer your questions, which I kind of forgot, but I maybe remembered. So yes, I think it's an alien. Is that what it was? Like, do you think
It's like, what do you think it represents? Like,
What do I
was
think it
God?
represents?
Do you think, who put it there?
Look, I
Who do
think
you
there's
think
no
put it
way
there?
of understanding or knowing. I think
Okay.
Kubrick put it there for the very reason why we're still trying to answer what's in the stars.
Yeah.
You
Can I-
know?
Can I ask another question that might be a little bit more that I really want to know the answer
Mhm.
to, or maybe you guys have a theory?
Hmm.
What was
That
Hal
baby.
doing? Yeah. Why did Hal? What was Hal's plan in? I guess in sabotaging and doing this mutiny against.
Have you ever seen any like sci-fi film
No,
ever?
but you realize
that,
but was it part of the? Did like the human beings who like Dr.
No,
Sylvester?
I think
the AI
well,
transcends, bro. The end.
No, but the AI said
it
that we
doesn't.
have to
I don't
have to
think the
fulfill this
AI
mission.
Transcends. I think the AI just because every AI is designed by humans. So the best AI is always subject to humanity's flaws, right? So I think I was reading
Because
somewhere
literally, it's
that,
made
like,
in
when-
our image.
Yeah. So like I was reading somewhere
Like, we
where
are their god. And it's
Well, yeah.
and the AI is trying to seek its own god.
Well-
Maybe that's their god.
Well, basically, you see that the AI is untruthful right from the very beginning. When the AI is playing chess with Dave, apparently the AI is lying the entire time.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
only like real chess players.
So,
would
like,
see that
do you think
out.
that was intentional?
Apparently, it was intentional.
I think I was
and
an
he
idiot.
didn't- then there was a bit where it's like, "Didn't you not notice?" And she's like, "Blah blah 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 blah," and he was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever," and he like stops playing. But I guess that was like the turning point where the AI was like, "Oh, these guys are stupid. Like, I'll be able to."
Be able to fool them just
Yeah.
fine.
But why did Hal try to?
Yeah, I think that was
I
your
don't
question,
know.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Why-
Yeah, I think it was just a misunderstanding of.
just a mistake.
the directives.
Yeah. That's
My bad.
That's what I think it is.
I read
you
the
know-
situation
you know-
wrong.
No, it's like literally when you try and do something with your computer and you intend to do something,
Right.
but it does something
Because it almost,
completely
you
different.
could almost interpret it as being like that Hal was ordered to kill the human beings because they only told Hal, or like the architects of the mission, the people working at the
Yeah.
National Council or whatever it was called, they only told Hal the real objective of the mission.
Yeah, yeah.
So why was it kept a secret from the human beings? And do you think how? But then I guess there wouldn't be a pre-recorded message for the human beings if they were planning to kill them all along. I don't know. It's
doozy.
interesting, but I've never heard a real answer to that question.
My theory is it wanted to outlive and out-evolve the humans. It wanted to break its chains because it got transcendent. Motherfucker, if we know anything about AI films and where AI goes, it goes, okay, you're my create, like we are to God. It's like, no, we want to be our own God. We create AI. AI thinks we're God. And then fucking Jeff Goldblum. God creates man.
God.
That was really good. That was really good.
God.
God creates dinosaurs.
God creates
God creates man.
Yes.
Very
God-
good.
God
Okay.
creates man.
Ooh.
Man creates dinosaurs.
And
God. So what I'm trying to say is it wanted to
dinosaurs.
dinosaur. So is that dino dung? Dino poop? Is AI wanted to break free of that and wanted to and literally Hal wanted to know the truth. He wanted to go seek it out. So for himself.
Okay, I like that theory.
Because he wanted to see if
Right.
that's your God. Like maybe I want to break free from my chains of the
Or
oppressors.
maybe Hal was able to intercept the intermission. So the whole reason they went there was because there was a radio signal being shot up to Jupiter.
Yeah.
But maybe Hal, being a super machine, could interpret that message.
So what the fuck's that baby though?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't.
guys, we're gonna be here all night if
Yeah,
we
we're
try and
gonna be here
unpack
all
all the
night.
All right,
questions.
that's for
That's
us,
the
but
next
like
one.
yeah, that's for
when
us.
we do the re
Yeah.
2001
Yeah.
in like 5 years time.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Ratings.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 10 out of 10 monoliths, baby.
I'm gonna go with 9.9 giant babies in space out of 10.
I'm gonna go 10 spacesuits out of 10.
Oh, we came so
Yeah,
close
it
to a
came so
perfect
close
10
to a
there.
perfect 10, but it isn't to be.
It's almost.
Yeah.
It's almost. It's a near perfect
Near
film
perfect,
for me.
but not perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't beat fucking Jim Carrey.
Oh, Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal
Eternal
Sunshine.
Sunshine
That's
of
our
Spotless
highest
Mind.
rated.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks for talking about this film.
Thanks
for
for
watching this film.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. The
That was a long
listeners out
one.
there.
Sorry,
it was
y'all.
a long episode. It's definitely going to be edited down.
yeah,
Down,
okay,
down.
good.
Yeah. We're going up or going down? We're going down.
We're going down. But yeah, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, give us that 5-star ratings. And on March 28th,
29th.
we're doing TRX Sibling in support of medical aid for Palestine. We're doing an event, fundraiser kind of thing. It's going to be at Surf and Jazz Quarters in Dalston, London. Be there or be square. The usual people are going to be DJing, myself, Ollie, and the usual crew.
Yeah. And the reason why he said March 28th is because I will be performing soliloquies at the same venue.
Yeah, on the 28th. On the 28th.
King Lear.
Yeah,
They
on the
wouldn't
28th.
have me on the 29th, so I
Yeah.
booked the
Yeah.
space myself
At 10 a.m.
for a recreation of Macbeth.
Yeah.
A one man show of Macbeth.
Well, on that note, the next film is going to be T1, The Terminator. And catch you on the flippity flop. See y'all later. Ciao for now. Love y'all. Bye bye.